That's my quant.
Your what?
My quantitative.
You show me a pay stub for $72,000 on it, I quit my
All
job
right.
right now and I work for you.
Be
Let's
first,
do it.
be smarter, or cheat.
I'm not fucking
Be first, be smarter, cheat, Steven.
Sell it all today.
Look at his face. It's beautiful.
Welcome to the fucking show.
We have a great old treat for you. We have a great old treat. It is Mr. Fiorillo, the man, the myth, the legend. Mr. Fiorillo, how are you doing, sir? Steven? You good for me?
All right, everyone.
Did he just hang up on himself? Oh, you're on mute, Steven. You're on mute. Amateur hour. Maybe he's finishing up on his stream. I don't know. He's on mute. It's amateur hour over here. Can't bring Steven anywhere. Just make sure I got everything set up appropriately on my side. Steven, what are you doing, guy?
I'm freaking telling everybody that I'm coming on your stream. Okay.
You're a gentleman and a scholar. I appreciate that.
I'm not allowed to tell everybody that I'm coming on your stream.
No, you are. I just didn't know you were muting yourself, and I got all confused.
Well, yeah, I muted myself on yours so I could tell everybody thank you for coming. And I was going over to your channel for a little bit.
You're a good man.
And
I
put your YouTube link in my stream.
I appreciate you. For once, I might actually get more than 50 people watching live.
I mean, you're a good role model to society. Whoa, hold on a second now. There's no Amazon boxes behind you.
I cleaned up after you made fun of me.
This guy, he cleaned up.
I know.
I mean, these are big steps Matt's taking.
Steve, you want to know what's also big steps? I got some new bed sheets yesterday, and I slept like a goddamn child last night.
And now let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Did you get really high thread count Egyptian, or did you go with the new age freaking wicking material?
No, I don't do any of that. I got Amazon Basics.
Okay.
I can't afford that. Whatever you just said, I can't afford that.
Like I've been hearing people talk about this wicking material. I'm like, this shit is 15 years old. But
The only thing that's Wiccan is I don't know. I don't know what's Wiccan.
People love it, man.
Steven, you said you're making some stuff up about VG, and what are you doing?
I'm not making anything up about VG. What are you
Maybe
talking
Chenier,
about?
maybe one day they'll be
maybe one day
Chenier.
they do half the EBITDA. They do half the EBITDA.
Right now.
Exactly, right now. That's why maybe one day.
They're literally the project they just sanctioned makes them just as big, if not slightly bigger than Chenier.
Right, but is it?
It's already halfway in construction.
But is it today?
Steven, don't twist words with me.
Is it today, Matt?
Yeah, but it's not a baby Chenier. Baby means it's like
right
1/20th size.
Right now, it's a baby Chenier. Can it become bigger than Chenier? Absolutely.
Like maybe one day it'll be bigger. Maybe
one day it'll be bigger.
You say that about like a dog when you're like, oh, it's a cute little puppy. Maybe it'll be bigger than his dad one day. It's like, no, like this thing is a gangster.
Not every puppy becomes bigger than its dad.
Steven, you're not wrong.
I'm not wrong, Matt, on this one. Maybe one day.
So you're I'm curious about your I've often contemplated two things that I want to contemplate before you leave, because I know it's late, so I appreciate you even coming on in the first place. Chris Patel, I think, hates me and or is sleeping. So
he's 100% sleeping. You know he's sleeping.
I get it. He works till evening time. I get it. I can't be upset with him. And I also sent it to him like 45 minutes, maybe even longer after he messaged me.
He was on freaking a mid stream at 4:30 or whatever. So he probably went to sleep right after that. That's not a lot. Dude, he must sleep only 5 hours a day.
He's a sleepy baby. I get it.
He must.
I'm a sleepy baby.
5 hours a day.
I'm surprised myself because I shouldn't say this live, but like I'm a night owl, so I have problems going to bed, and
Same
then when I get to bed, I have to be up in a couple hours, and so, but I don't actually get. So the fact that I'm like actually working, like it only becomes a problem. Not working. The fact that I haven't like fallen asleep at my desk, it only becomes a problem if I only get like 2 hours. If I get like 4 to 5. Go ahead.
This is going to sound so weird. I really enjoy just laying on the couch at night because my brain does not shut off. Okay. Obviously, I'm still working. I came home from work. I wrote an article and then I started streaming. Okay. I truly like at 11 o'clock at night or so, my brain starts to wind down. And it's like I can truly sit there and just watch TV and not have stuff going through my mind the way it does all day. So I don't know. It's very weird. I'm in the same boat as you. I only get like 6 or 7 hours of sleep.
6 or 7 hours is pretty good.
I mean, some would say it sucks.
Yeah, some would say it sucks. I don't know. I think it's more me. Like I know it's me. I can easily go to bed earlier. Steve's got a nice lady. I'm assuming. Never met her, but I'm sure she's a nice lady.
8 hours a night. She's the best. 8 hours a night. Jesus, Spencer.
But two things that I've thought about.
Oh boy.
Why are you sleeping so much? Yeah, Steve. Why are you sleeping so much?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. The one question or the thing that I've contemplated, I'm curious to get your thoughts because I don't know if I've shared this with anybody. I've shared this before on stream. One of the biggest problems that I have is getting flustered with people that will blindly follow me into things and then question the reason why they blindly followed me into it. So one of the things I've always talked about, and I literally was having this discussion in your chat, you may have seen it with you and Amit, is my thought process is like, I might just talk about stocks like that I think are great. Like I could talk about SoFi. I don't own SoFi, but I like it. And I think it's a great company. But I feel like I've started to come to the conclusion that I actually don't need to disclose whether or not I own a company or not. And never, because that my fear is that I have people that follow me. They know I've done okay in the market, and I have people that follow me blindly, but then don't follow me in with the same sort of process. So like I'll be like, hey, VG to next is like a 10-year hold. And they'll buy me and they're like, what's it going to be next year? And I'm like, I don't give a shit what the price is going to be next year. I have no idea. Nor do I care. And so I feel like, I don't know, part of me at the same time is just like, why, what benefit to me does telling people what stocks I invest in?
I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, Matt. I mean, I always say do your own due diligence. I've talked about so many things. Everybody knows what I own from Seeking Alpha. I mean, I don't think anybody should follow anybody. I think all this is just getting another point of view and how we look at things. And I think that people should really learn how. Look, the best advice I could give to anybody: learn how to read financial statements, understand what the building blocks of a company means, and learn how to do your own financial analysis. Take everything you hear from anybody, including myself, with a grain of salt and come to your own conclusions. Like, it's fine to read articles and watch videos and listen to CNBC and Bloomberg, but at the end of the day, you're not investing their capital, you're investing your capital. So you got to be okay with the play. But the most important thing that you can do for yourself as an investor, understand how to read through an income statement, a balance sheet, and a cash flow statement. Understand what the components of it means and understand how the market traditionally values stocks.
Mm-hmm. And I love that, because another piece of it as well is like, think about and this is what I tell everybody. It's like, think about somebody's perspective as to why, and also like why they're investing in something, right? Because you're a dividend guy, right? Like, so some of the things that you buy are strictly because you like the focus on dividends of things. When you talk about some of these companies, you don't own them en masse in your personal portfolio, but you might own them in your dividend portfolio, the one that you showed with 25,000. So, in that respect, I think people can kind of, I think some people can take it out of context without fully comprehending and understanding where somebody's coming from, unfortunately. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat. I appreciate that. Stephen, I know you said you don't own Dominion. Do you mind saying why? Like the reason why you don't own it?
I happen to have liked Southern Company and Next Era better. Dominion sold Cove Point a while ago, and then they sold 7,700 miles of natural gas pipelines a while ago. And it's just not as interesting to me as it once was. I did own it, and I did pretty well on it, and I exited it. I happen to like Southern Company a lot. I really do.
I like Southern as well. Southern
does a
good job. And I've owned NextEra in the past. I think I've owned Southern Company in the past. It's been a long time, but when I was more dividend focused, I owned Southern. And I forget how long ago. It might have been 2-3 years ago where I owned NextEra, and I bought it in like the 50s, 60s, and it dropped down to the 48s, and I established a higher position. And when it got to like the 70s, 80s again, unfortunately, I sold it. I thought it was getting expensive again. But yeah, so there's that piece. It's just a little bit kind of, I guess it's just frustrating. I don't want to. I hate people jumping in and losing money because they fail to do the true due diligence on their own. And I feel like it's almost a disservice. People are saying, they're like, well, what are you streaming for then? And it's like, I can still, like, why is CNBC on? That you think that people that talk on CNBC know every stock that they bring up on the channel? It's not the case. Does Steve own every single stock that he brings up on his channel? Not the case. So I don't know. And so many people, like, I'm glad you're not championing BM&R. I actually think BM&R is a great company, and I would not be surprised if in the next 24 months I own BM&R. I just was always, same thing with MSTY and a lot of these other things that people were focusing on for crypto. I was entering at pace, and I was not piling in because I had a cautiously, I don't want to say pessimistic, but I was, well, how do I say this? I was cautiously confident, I should say, that I believed we were entering the end of a crypto cycle. And so I did not see the need to hyper focus on investing in crypto specific assets. And my hope would be that in mid 2026 to late 2026, that I would pick up some of these great companies that I think are going to be much cheaper in 12 to 18 months time.
I agree with you. I mean, look, I don't get everything right by any means. And there's a lot of things that I get right, but there's things I don't get right. A lot of things. So nobody's perfect. There's not a single person that can freaking get everything correct. And I think the most important thing is you need to freaking do your own research.
Steve, you know what I want to watch again? Animal Kingdom.
Dude, did you watch the first episode of Power? Like I told you.
I didn't.
I was sitting here waiting for a text message. I'm like, I don't want to go to sleep in case Matt.
Staring at your phone, like Matt's definitely watching.
Like Matt's, like he got so involved in it, he just freaking watched 3 episodes and didn't text me.
He got stars. He got, so anybody that's curious, I know Steve mentioned on the last episode. So he tells me this move. So first and foremost, Steve actually has some pretty good, nine times out of 10. Steve is in my cinematic, I don't know, movie, television overlaps. There's 1 out of every 10 where I'm like, Steve could have done better. But I forget what movie it was. One you told Doug to watch too. I wasn't a fan.
You guys didn't like Confidence. You guys are crazy.
Confidence. It was Dustin Hoffman. Yeah, all that.
You guys are crazy.
I wasn't the biggest fan. Movie. Maybe he told you that. Maybe he didn't. But I wasn't the biggest fan.
No, you both said it.
Okay. I didn't want to like. Well, unfortunately, I already told him.
No, you guys both saw it.
The Animal Kingdom's really good. So, yeah, this other one that you were talking about. What is it? Proof Point, something like
Power.
that. Power. Yeah, I need to. I'll watch.
It's incredible.
It's from 2016.
It's incredible.
I sent Chris. Chris has the same exact link, guys. So if he ends up showing up, he ends up showing up. But
Yeah,
I felt bad. I didn't want to keep you guys waiting, and I know Steve wanted to come on as well while he was ramping down his stream for the evening.
Yeah, I got like 10 minutes in me. I got some shit to do before I go to sleep.
You're a good man. What was for dinner, Steven?
I don't think I had dinner yet.
Steven!
Now that you say it, I didn't have dinner.
What are we gonna have, man?
I forgot to eat. I was working.
You working too hard? You weren't even supposed to be working today.
Dude, I had to go to the office. I had a bunch of in-person meetings.
Tell them to wait until next year.
I took the day off, and 4 meetings ended up on my calendar. And I was like, you know what? I got to go to the office.
What are you taking off next week? What are you doing?
I'm going to take off Tuesday, and I'm going to take off Wednesday. And Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm going to take off.
Thursday's Christmas, right?
Yeah. Gonna work on.
You're not going to take off Thursday. You're not going to take off Wednesday, Thursday.
Nah.
You can't work Christmas.
No, Thursday's off. I'm off. What are you talking about?
Okay.
I don't
What about
have
Wednesday?
to take off. I'm off.
What do you take? Are you taking off Wednesday? Do you have off Wednesday?
I do not have off Wednesday. I'm taking off Wednesday.
What about Friday?
Friday, I'm working.
Steven, are you going to use up your vacation time, or are you going to end up giving some away?
No, I'm giving some back.
Steven.
Well, listen, you know what I took days off this year to do? Stream. When did I start streaming? October. Next year, I'm going to be better about it.
There you go. Okay. I like it. Are you going to be able to roll over some of it or no?
I mean, we can only roll over a certain amount, so I'm going to lose some.
Steven.
Let's say.
You got wings on the grill over here, and she didn't even invite me. She's in Houston. She didn't even invite me, Steve.
I got to tell you.
You know how many times we've invited this woman out, and I want to meet her?
And Ben, you need to retry Power. Power is incredible. Incredible. And the spinoffs, let me tell you something. Raising Canaan's Power Ghost and Power Force are incredible. Incredible.
I don't know. Steven.
Matt.
So what are you going to have, man?
What do you mean?
You got to eat dinner. What are you going to eat? Do I have to send something to your house? Your place?
I mean, send something. I can order something if I want.
I know, but if you don't, how am I going to guarantee that you order it after you get off stream?
I mean, I may order a little Chinese or something.
Oh, what are we talking?
We're talking.
Are you what should we call it? Are you a egg roll guy, or are you not really?
A bad influence, yes.
Well, that was always known. But are you an egg roll guy, or do you not really?
No.
Strictly an entree guy.
Yeah.
See, I'm all about the sides. Like like Bob Reiner, R.I.P. You know when he went and he yelled and at what's his face? Leonardo DiCaprio and what's this Jonah Hill in Wolf of Wall Street about getting all the sides. That's what I live for. I'm all about the sides.
They cure diseases, Matt.
They cured cancer. $29,000 worth of sides?
I got a freaking bottle of wine sitting on my desk, and I've been looking at it like maybe I should have a glass of wine.
Steven, what kind of wine are we talking? You a Cab Sav guy? I feel like you're a Cab Sav.
I can't believe you just said that, Matt.
I feel like you're a Cab Sav guy.
A little Silver Oak Cab.
That's a good one. That's like a high quality but cheap. That's Robert Mondavi, right?
Napa.
Napa. I can't afford it, Steven. See, Steven's got that fancy palette. I don't even know. All right, well, get out of here, man. I didn't mean to keep you until 10:30 at night. You should go get some Chinese.
No.
What time's that Chinese place closed by you, by the way?
I don't know. 11 or 12.
See, we used to have that.
I got two of them within two. I have 3 within 2 blocks.
And do they deliver or do you go get it?
No, they won't deliver.
I wish I had that shit. That's something that's different.
And
Houston's not a
listen,
walking city, so
listen, no joke. One of them, okay, unless it is like 5 p.m. and they're just slammed, will get me my Chinese in legitimately like 16 minutes.
they're good, man.
It's incredible.
Always can trust them. I had Korean beef bulgogi, but I just calculated all my calorie intake for the day, and I'm like still like 900 calories under, believe it or not. Even though I feel like I've eaten a lot, I like actually looked at it and I was like actually thinking about it in retrospect. It's not a lot, so I might run out and get a snack somewhere. I don't know what I'm gonna get, but
And you know what the real clutch thing is? I have a diner that's excellent that delivers. I could order freaking if I don't want to make something. You can get a burger from there, and it's amazing. You can get eggs, like you can get whatever you want. Everything's good.
ooh, maybe that's what I'll get. There's a Katz's Deli that opened up not too far. It's a drive, but not too far. Maybe I'll put on some pants and get like an eggs and some bacon. That would be good.
I mean, that's never a bad thing at this time.
Yeah, because it's kind of light, you know, some eggs, some bacon, like nothing too crazy, not pancakes, nothing too heavy.
Yeah.
Some protein. Anyway, get out of here, man. I appreciate you. I'm just going to do a Q&A because I think Chris, understandably, he didn't wake up. And I messaged him late.
Listen, it happens.
Yeah, I messaged him late. So
Yeah.
he messaged me 45 minutes later. I messaged him back with a link. So that's my fault. I should have messaged him more. And I don't want to wake him up because if he's sleeping, you know, he needs to sleep. So
Everybody needs their sleep. I need to start sleeping better. I got to eat better. I got to change my lifestyle.
did you ever watch Stranger Things or no?
I did. I thought each season progressively got worse, and I did not watch the last season.
You didn't watch the last one? I mean, I would say this last one, I need to finish it, but the first 2 episodes, I think I'm on episode 3. It was pretty good. I think I saw the 4th episode with my buddy because I was at his place over Thanksgiving, and
Stranger Things was so legit season 1, and then it got worse.
They're doing some crazy shit.
You're doing some crazy shit.
You're right.
I mean,
You're right.
You're a good role model to society, is what you are.
Far from, Steven. Far from.
We gonna stream on Saturday or Sunday? What's up?
Saturday I'll be on a plane.
Where you going?
Going home.
Okay. Sunday?
Sunday would be fine. I'll
All
stream
right.
from the beach.
Sunday
house.
afternoon, let's stream.
Yeah, I'll be doing stuff at the beach house. Depending on what time my sister's arriving. I go to the beach house, I land in Philly, and then I drive to New Jersey. And then my sister will be arriving Sunday.
Oh, dude. Are you driving through Philly or not? I don't know where Philly Airport is.
Landing in Philly and then like at 5 p.m. and then driving directly to the beach.
Like, how close is Philly from Philadelphia Airport?
Pretty close, like
I got
downtown, like
I got a
15.
spot for you to go to.
Oh, you told me about that. I wouldn't mind. Depending on when it is.
Holt's Cigar Shop
Yeah, you've told me about that.
on the corner of Chestnut and Walnut.
Let me think. I mean,
It is so
I don't
legit.
need, maybe that's something I'll do tomorrow is I don't need to go directly to the beach tomorrow night. So what I
Have
could
you
do
ever
is
watched their videos
yes,
on freaking YouTube? Yes.
yeah.
They're
After you
so
told me
legit.
about them,
They're
yeah.
so legit.
Yeah, maybe
Whoa. Midwest cannabis, eat once a day. I don't even know how to do that.
chase your hot showers with a cold shower. Jesus. Get out of here while you can. I have 2 rental properties at the beach. That's why I go to the beach. It's probably where I'm going to buy my my next house
Matt's
as
forever
well.
home.
Yeah, I think I'm not done working yet, but what I think I might do is buy my house, rent it out, get it all updated like I want to, use the cash flow to update it like I want to. And then whenever I'm done, move over to that. The address is 123 ABC Street. I'm not going to tell you what beach.
Obviously.
Yeah. But yeah, I worry about you, Steve. Get out of here while you can, man.
Maddie, you're a good role model.
You're the best role model, Steve.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get my.
Tell me what you get. Tell me what you get for Chinese if you get Chinese.
There's a lot of options now. I'm kind of thinking pizza. I don't know.
Do you when you get Chinese? I think you told me this. You get like one thing all the time, right?
Yeah, I get the same order every time.
It's not like Mugai Pan or anything like that, isn't it?
No,
Like,
it's nothing fancy like that.
yeah. See, like I always
Right.
wondered. I want to investigate some of those crazy.
Here's the order. Okay, it's the simplest order. I get chicken and broccoli.
That's what it was. Chicken and broccoli.
I get a thing of vegetable fried rice and a thing of white rice. I dump the chicken and broccoli in to a big bowl. I dump the white rice in and the vegetable fried rice. Because I want both. I want both types of rice.
I don't hate that. What does Boss Lady get?
I mean, shit that I don't eat.
Is she the one getting the crazy like Mugai Pan?
Yeah, I can't fuck with that stuff.
You're a good man. You're a good man.
Yeah, I'm interested in Midwest Canada, like cannabis. I'm interested in all this stuff that you're saying. You'll never get sick again if you do the cold shower thing every time you shower. I feel like Midwest has like some like ritual that they do, and it's like really working.
I will say I have never had the best blood pressure, but I went to do a routine checkup yesterday. My blood pressure has been the best it's been in probably 15 years.
Nice. Midwest, I'm interested. Send me a message on X.
So maybe this. Well, I'm not doing 1 meal a day. I am eating way less though. So.
I need to stop eating at night. Obviously, that's not happening right now. But I am.
Enjoy your Chinese. Send me a picture. You do sriracha or you just eat it regular?
Wait, what?
You do sriracha or you just eating regular? What do you do?
Oh, regular. I need to freaking. I gotta change everything I'm doing. I gotta get back in shape, Matt.
You're the best looking guy I know.
I gotta get back in shape. I gotta try to drop 25 pounds and try to get a freaking cut up again. It's not gonna happen.
Steven's gonna show up like Mark Wahlberg and I don't know, whatever Mark Wahlberg shows up sliced up in.
Dude, I don't have freaking time to lift or anything.
That's what I'm trying to get to, man. I'm trying to get to a place where I can get a little bit better about exercise.
I have a gym across.
That's an excuse. I have time. I just am late.
I don't have the time. I have a gym across the street and I have a gym in the basement, and I still don't freaking lift.
You definitely don't. I mean, you're writing a billion article. I'm just lazy. I'm just, you know me. Get
I
out
mean,
here
I
while you
would put a
can.
freaking kettlebell in here and I still wouldn't use it. Just saying.
You don't need to. You're the best looking guy on YouTube.
Far from it.
GQ.
I will tell you
did
though.
GQ reach out to me? They messaged me. They said they were looking to get in touch with you, and I was like,
Wait, what?
Here's Steve's number.
If I was younger, I would have freaking streamed lifting all the time. I would have been such a fucking meathead on YouTube. It would have been crazy.
Dude, Ronnie Coleman would have no idea what to have done with you. Is that his name? Ronnie Coleman?
Ronnie Coleman. Yeah.
Get out of here while you can, Steve.
All right. Oh,
Thank
come
you
on.
for
Now they're just trolling me. Raising Kanan's not the best power spinoff. Raising Kanan was good in season 1, and it went progressively downhill. Force is incredible. Incredible.
Power.
Maddie, can you watch Power tonight?
I'll watch Power tonight. And
I'm expecting to wake up tomorrow to a text message from you saying that you watched the first episode.
I'll watch it. I'll
Right,
queue it up right now.
You heard it here.
I have Rudy on the other screen, but I will queue up on Amazon Prime Power for Steven. Prime Video. Oh, the Rams versus Seahawks right now, Steven.
So what?
Power. Get out of here, Steve.
Power's incredible. All right, everyone. I will see you all tomorrow on our infamous show that Chris turned into a crazy name. And,
It's funny as shit that he named it that.
Getting after it.
You're the man, Steve. Oh, Japan hikes. Talk to you later, brother.
Yeah, Japan hikes. All right, later, everyone.
Yeah, later, brother.
Midwest. Message me on X. I am interested. I need to do something to get back in shape.
You're the
Later,
man.
everyone.
Later, brother.
Matt, I'm expecting a text tomorrow.
Okay.
All right, later.
Later, brother. Thanks, brother. All right. Lots of people asking questions. Yeah, I'll talk about investing. That's all you can get me talking about investing for a couple hours. But yeah, Midwest. I don't know. I'm trying to remember. Do you even have an X? I don't remember if you do. All right. So yeah, any questions that you guys have? Let's get through it. Sorry, I was shooting the shit with my boy Steven. Hopefully you guys are doing well. You do? Okay. I thought you did. You just don't go on it as much, I don't think. Now Steve's got me. What is this? Actually playing the episode? What is this? Is this playing like a... Okay. Let's talk VG. How many times do I got to talk about that damn company? I'm 18. Your investing journey pursuing electrical and computer engineering. So you're smarter than me. At Berkeley, I got a full ride scholarship. That's awesome. Congrats, brother. I have 10K saved from a part-time job. No more income now as I quit to pursue college full-time. Awesome. How much to put aside in a high-yield savings account for emergencies, food, etc.? How much in stocks? I was thinking about investing all in AI companies like NVIDIA, Google. Suggest differently. Also using Robinhood. I also have a startup on the side. Thank you for your time. I think it really just depends on how much actual active investment research you're going to be doing, or if you are only going to just throw away money into it. It's tough. I would say, unless you're actually generating an income, I think it's going to be pretty tough to really establish a good portfolio. I think one of the things, and I'm not saying like $10,000 won't go away, but I think a lot of people assume you put $10,000 in, you're going to get $10 million out. This is not how it works. Most of the time. I mean, some people can get lucky. You could really find, if you really work hard, like the most opportunistic thing that still might have risk and it might work out well for you, but very rarely do those things kind of pan out and make you life-changing money. What really is the best thing to do, I would say, to put yourself at the best success, and this is really all dependent upon so many different things, but um, first and foremost, I would kind of think about, you have a whole life ahead of you. So at 18, you can really take advantage of this early. But as you get any sort of money, I would put 20 to 30% of it aside. And you can always back off. So the thing is, it's tough, is I think a lot of people will start small. They'll be like, oh, let me start saving 50. And then they never really increase it. But I would suggest that most people, they start at 20 to 30% of whatever dollars they make, and kind of put it away into some sort of account. The high yield savings account is nice, but the problem with the high yield savings account, while it is triple advantaged, meaning that you can kind of write it off on your taxable income, you get tax free annually, and then I think you get tax free when you pull it out, is you have to use it on medical expenses. And I think there's some exceptions. I'm not as well versed on the high yield savings account pieces, but that's great and all. But what if you do actually do really well on that, and then you can't pull it out unless it's for medical expenses? Like, I get it, yes, especially if every year you have some sort of medical expenses, whether it's for like dental or for eyesight or whatever, or normal checkups and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like, unless you are really sickly, like I don't understand why somebody would be putting a lot of money into a high yield savings account. But I could be very um, misunderstood on that sort of thing. So I don't know. I think it's tough. Um, with you, I mean, I don't know what your startup is about, but maybe that money is best used towards the startup. But at the same time, you know, unless you have other cash flow coming in, having that $10,000 is like a safety net. Unless you have like your parents still backing you or something, which is potentially the case, then it's kind of tough. The way I like to think about it is it's more so for majority of people, maybe not necessarily you, but for the majority of people, it's best to just establish a healthy savings rate and invest that into things that you can kind of more so guarantee. And I think a lot of people, it's like, it's so funny. You see so many people out there like, company has a lot of debt. That company doesn't like make any money. That company like is spending more than it actually. It's like, but then they'll like do the same thing in their own life, which I think is pretty hysterical. So they're like pointing the finger at all these companies that have poor financial habits, and then they'll do the same exact thing, which I think is hysterical. So it's almost like, you really need to establish a good cadence of being a good steward of your own capital. You got to figure out how to manage, 10,000, then 50,000, then 100,000. So if you can't manage 10,000, you're never going to be able to manage 50. You can't manage 50, you'll never be able to manage 100. And so a perfect example of this, and people have made fun of me for making this example in the past, because it could have been a gift, but I made this perfect example of like back in the day when I was in Pennsylvania, like Walmart was paying like $8 an hour, but I knew for a fact that these new Jordans had come out and they were selling for $250 off the shelf. And one of the guys had the newest pair of Jordans, but I know he was making $8.50, and he was a Walmart employee. Now, I'm not bagging on Walmart employees or anything like that, but you think about it, that's like 30 hours of his work, maybe even longer, pre-tax, to be able to afford those shoes. So unless they were a gift, it doesn't necessarily make sense, right? And he probably should have taken some of that money and invested it and gotten probably further along. But I think it's such a poor financial habit for a lot of people to just spend whatever money that they get. So in terms of you, you're still super young. I would focus more on maybe paper trading, to be honest. But if you do have a liking for some of these things, I wouldn't hate for you to focus on just investing in something like an S&P 500 on a regular basis. Keep your eyes and wits about you. Understand what you do and don't like about certain companies. Understand more about your time horizon, risk tolerance, how active or passive you want to be, and how much capital you're going to be adding. Because specifically for this question that you have, you might be wanting to put all your time into your startup. And so do you really want to be focusing on looking at NVIDIA and looking at Google or looking at BM&R or looking at all these other companies when you want to really just focus on your startup? And now you feel like you're splitting your time. So you can't fully focus on your startup. You can't fully focus on investing. So what could be a more prudent way to look at it is just invest in S&P 500, donate to that on a monthly basis, and let that do its thing. Because who knows? Maybe what the better thought is maybe you only get 7 to 10% investing in the S&P, but maybe you'll be able to get 11 to 12% if you were to do it and fully focus on investing. But at the end of the day, had you focused more on your startup, maybe that's the thing that actually gets you the ticket that could have the true massive returns. And so I always try to tell people, it's like you could try all your best to hyper focus on getting these extra 1%, 2%, right? And I listen to and think about this as well. It's like you can hyper focus, try to over manage your portfolio and try to get these extra 1 or 2% gains, or you could take all that time that you would have and do like a side hustle like you're doing and take all the money that you make from your side hustle and just invest it and guarantee a 7 to 10% return. And so, I see a lot of people donating so much time, and a lot of times they don't actually end up generating more alpha than just had they just invested in the S&P 500. So lots of different nonsense in there. It's a big kind of like tangent on, just thinking, but I would think about what your objective is with whatever money you are going to invest, time horizon, like what is that going to be used for that objective specifically, your risk tolerance. Like you could be devastated if that went from 10,000 to 9,000. You could be absolutely devastated, and it could turn you off entirely from the market. So I don't necessarily want that to potentially happen. And then there's the case of you not wanting to put as much time into it, and it could very well be that you'd rather focus on your side business and your hustle, which I think is a good thing. And then so there's that. Do you have any thoughts on DJT? I do not have thoughts on it. Good night. Hopefully you have a good evening. If I send you a screenshot of your portfolio, would you give me your thoughts? I know not financial advice, but I think it would be cool. I mean, I would, would be the most beneficial if you sent me screenshots. Like screenshots don't mean anything. But what would be beneficial is screenshots with the things that is talked about. Like, what are you investing for? What's your risk tolerance? How old are you? Those sorts of things. Because if you're sitting there like, I really want to be hands-on and I hate stocks, I'd rather be investing in real estate, but then you show me this like stock portfolio, it'd be you know what I mean? It's kind of silly. Like I have a friend that I got breakfast this morning, and she was like, I don't know how you do real estate. I don't think I could do it. I don't want to get tenant phone calls, etc. So that's great. She just invests in the S&P 500. She has a few other, 5 to 10% of her portfolio. She invests in like the Netflixes and stuff of the world just for fun. But the majority of her money is just in the S&P, and she's fine with it. She works hard on her job. She doesn't want to think about it. She doesn't have enthusiasm for it like I do. She'll ask me from time and again, but I know she doesn't want to talk about it to wit's end. So I just don't. But that's the part of that's difficult. It's like you give somebody a portfolio screenshot, you might get biases on what they would do, but it might not necessarily be what you want to do. So what you need to do is educate people on where you're coming from. because then they might give a completely different answer. Because you might send me something with like an Altria group in there, and I'd be like, for me, I'm not looking at Altria group right now. You know, like if I were to establish a dividend portfolio, etc., then maybe. But so yeah, I mean, if you did send me something, if you give me an answer about what all the other cool things that you're potentially thinking about and framing your portfolio, then that might be useful. Thoughts on NVIDIA, Google? I have a lot of Google. I've been pounding the table on Google. You know, when everybody was selling it 2 years ago, I was buying it up. I didn't buy enough, but I bought enough. That's good enough for me. Happy, decent position size now. I don't hate NVIDIA. The thing with NVIDIA that I personally been looking at is I think the easy money's been made. So I don't think it's going to go to zero or anything like that. I don't think it's going to pull back massively, but I don't own a position in Nvidia. The thing that I'm more concerned about though is that people think that this Capex spending is going to continue forever. And if you think about it, if you look at where Capex was 2 years ago comparatively to where it is today, now people are starting to brush up into the fact that their free cash flow, like either pretty much zero free cash flow or negative free cash flow or slightly positive. And now the only way that they can increase their investments in Capex is if they increase their revenue and increase their cash flow from operations, which is before Google, for example, was making $100 billion a year and they could invest, 30, 40 billion and buy back 60 billion worth of stock and, have a crap ton of free cash flow. Now, with all the Capex they're spending, with all the buybacks they're doing, they're actually getting to a place where they don't have as much free cash flow. They're not building a cash pile like they used to. And it's not to say that they're going to go bankrupt or something like that, but that's part of the reason why everyone's freaking out right now about Oracle is because they're actually free cash flow negative. Like they're actually taking out debt. So people are trying to understand. So I don't think that everything's going to end up like Oracle, but it's been something I've been preaching about for 3 to 4 months, which is I don't think that people fully understand that these companies don't have unlimited Capex that they can just invest. And so they're going to hit a wall here, I would say, in the next 18 to 24 months. And if that's the case, what does that do to NVIDIA's growth rate? And what will people do with the multiple on that? I didn't know Twitch comments could be highlighted on YouTube. Hey, man, we're doing it here all the time. Let's see. I don't know what you mean by does health insurance count? At first, it's all about building the habit. Yeah, that's probably more important than actually guaranteeing that you're saving 20 to 30%. So at least getting in the habit of saving versus always spending. Yeah, I would agree with this as well. I think BM&R will be a better opportunity in 12 to 18 months. I think right now it's tough. Thank you. Yeah, I was really surprised. I was like, you sure? And then she was like, yeah. She's like, you did it perfectly fine. And it's not like it was like 100 over 80 or something like that, but it was like 122 over 85, which, normally the top one's normally like 10 or 15 points higher. So. This isn't a bad one either, like something about experiences, but it really it really just does depend on what you're going after, yeah, live in the Houston area. Do I mess with EQT? I do not. I don't invest in a lot of oil and gas stocks, even though I'm in the industry. There are a few that I invest in though. One of the best financial decisions I made in COVID era was to buy my first ever rental. Worked my butt off while earning 14.50 an hour. That's a good one. I like that. Some people are about rentals, some people aren't, but I believe in them. They're like little banks. The further along I go, the more I realize that I want to be able to have the access to capital, and I don't want banks to limit my access. So if I have equity in something, they can't really turn me down. I mean, they can technically, depending on my credit, but it's like I know I have equity in something, and so I can use that. Same thing with my stock portfolio. If I have, $100,000 in Rocket Lab per se, I know I can use 50,000 of that to buy whatever I need to. So it just gives you that kind of maybe confidence that you have the ability to kind of do things if you want to, or pivot. Was Matt ever a gamer? If so, favorite games you used to play? I used to play a lot of Call of Duty. Now I play. I'm not proud of it, but in high school I played World of Warcraft back in, what was that, late 2000s, and then I didn't play for 15 years, and then my buddies, like earlier this year, so I guess 6 months, slightly longer than that, were like, "Hey, you should play again," and then they all stopped playing, and now I'm still playing like a goddamn idiot. So, I got Google at 180, 167. Sorry, put 20% of your port into it because I had so much conviction. Seemed like an obvious bet. I thought so too. Um, yeah, I think that Google. I like Google. It's kind of expensive here, but depending on where you're at. And another thing that I look at is like I don't really look at like what's the next target for next year, stuff like that. I think people try to hold me to that, and for a while I was kind of like, I have to provide like a 12 to 18 month target, and now I really don't care. Like I'm investing for me, I'm not investing for you. So I always just look at things, and I have a strong feeling that Google's going to be like a $9 trillion company one day. And so if you feel that way, that within the next 10 years it'll be, so then you start doing some back calculations, like it's this many billions right now, they're going to buy back this much stock potentially, and they're going to be $9 trillion market cap, then you can kind of get an idea as to what the compound annual growth rate of that is, and you say, okay, I feel confident on that versus the S&P 500, right? And I did the same thing with my next decade. It is same thing with my venture global. If I'm like, oh, it's only going to double in 10 years, and it's like, well, it's probably not worth it. If it's only going to double in 10 years time, because at that point you might as well just, and especially a single company risk, like at that point, it's probably just better to invest in the S&P, if you believe it's not overly expensive, right? So. Can you give your raw thoughts to join the market on October 17th? Which means easy money's been made. Would you suggest waiting on a sideline with cash ready for S&P 500 down there? I personally don't ever have a lot of cash personally, but I also invest a lot of money every month. So I'm one of those people that saves thousands of dollars a month because I've done well at work, and so I have a decent paying job. And so I say, I don't know what percentage it is anymore, but I save a large percentage of it, and I just put it into the market. And I know it's going to be paying for higher prices, but I like to think like, is whatever I'm putting my money into, Palantir, Rocket Lab, all those things, are those going to be much higher in the future? So that's the thought. But it's not to say, I mean, I think it all depends on what helps you sleep better at night. If you want, say, 5%, then go for it. But I personally, I know that I'm investing a crap ton of money every single month. And to be fair now, like if I needed to invest money and push came to shove to it, like I would potentially go into leverage if it got that cheap. And I'd be okay with it because I could go into a couple 100,000. I shouldn't probably say this. I could go into 10 to 20% leverage and make a decent sized move in something. And it wouldn't be that scary. Why do I like a coffee franchise company? It makes money, and the product is good. it differentiates itself from the other competitors in the market. It's growing very quickly. And it makes high profit. So the ops profit is very good, 30%, sometimes up to 31%. And so then you add the overhead, and you recognize that eventually it's going to be, they're averaging over $2 million a store, so from that, the ops cash they're generating is close to 600 million a store. That's not 600 million, 600,000 a store. So if you think, multiply that by potentially 4,000 stores, you're going to get a lot of income from that, and that's potentially where the company is headed. So by the time you get to the end of 2029, they'll have over 2,000 stores, 600,000 a store. I mean, you're talking about, a pretty good amount of profit that's going to be hitting the bottom line. And the company was, last trading, I don't remember what it was, but it was like 8 billion or something like that. So that means that they're going to be generating over $1 billion in profit by 2029. And it's an $8 billion company. So they're going to be growing pretty quick. Last time I sold, I sold Nubank. I sold some SoFi earlier in the year, and I guess it really just depends. Like in terms of, for me, they weren't large positions for my portfolio size. They were big probably for a lot of people, but to me, it's always about, like, I don't necessarily agree. I guess it depends on where you're coming from and each their own, but I didn't necessarily agree with what Steve and Amit were saying about diversification. I could see if they were afraid of the volatility of things, but I'm okay. Like, to me, the way I look at things is if I lost, of course, if I had all my money and say like a Rocket Lab and it all went to zero, it'd be different. But to me, I kind of look at it and be, confidently, I could say that even if it goes 50% from here, it's way more than I started off with. And so that's okay. And I feel like the upside opportunity is still way more than just going from, say, $30 billion market cap back down to 15. I feel like the upside of it going from 30 billion to potentially 150 to 200 billion is more meaningful to me. And I would be crushed if I had sold out of something like a Rocket Lab because I wanted to diversify into something else, knowing that I think it can get to 150 to 200 billion, and knowing that I didn't have that conviction. I would much rather lose the money of, let's say, going from 30 billion to $15 billion market cap. I'd much rather lose that and know that I gave a go than selling out early, knowing that I could have rode it to 150 to 200 billion dollars. So, now that's me, right? Like I said, like most people in my position, I've had people tell me as well, because they know my portfolio size, they know who I am, they know where I'm at, my age, etc. A lot of people tell me to diversify, but I would rather lose half my portfolio than recognize that me selling out of some of these positions, which I still have a lot of conviction in, that yeah, would I be flustered? Yeah, of course I'd be flustered, but I've made more money on these things than if they were to go to zero, different story. But yeah, the last things I've sold really were Nubank and SoFi. It's not that I dislike them either. Once again, it goes back to concentration, right? Like I would much rather have more money in an Amazon that I can feel like I can guarantee. Like I feel like Amazon will be a $10 trillion company, and I can put my hat on that. But Nubank, do I really see Nubank being a $250 billion company, which is pretty much the equivalent of going from where Amazon is today to 10 trillion? I feel more confident that Amazon will get to 10 trillion, then Nubank will potentially get to 250. I mean, do I think that Nubank will get to 250? I do, but I would much rather put that trust into an Amazon. And I think it's going to be a lot less volatile as well. So, yeah. Meta, how much can it climb? I think Meta's a good one, especially if you have a longer time horizon. I think it's going to get back to the 700s very quickly within the next several months. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic that the first half of 2026 will be okay. The latter half of 26, I still am confident that there will be a large pullback somewhere. So next distributable cash flow is like 2.1 billion with trains 1 through 6 and it's currently trading 1.4 billion. That's cheap. I don't remember exactly what it is, but that doesn't sound far off. Distributed cash flow 2.1 might be high. You have to keep in mind that the whole project distributable cash flow is going to be much larger than Next's position in it. So I think 2.1 seems high. I'd have to double check on that. But I think with trains 1 through 5, I think that the cash flow is supposed to be about 0.8 to 0.9 billion. And then with train 6, which is 100%, I think you're getting an additional like 400 to 500 million. So I think it's going to be closer to like 1.4 to 1.5 billion in distributable cash flow, not the 2.1. But I could be wrong. Boss lady. I like it. For the infinite banking concept, what are your thoughts? You know, I used to think when I was younger growing up, I was like, this seems really awesome. And then I was kind of introduced to borrowing against your own stocks. And the thing that's beautiful about the infinite banking concept is that you're kind of paying yourself back. And if you do this with a 401k or you do this with your own investment portfolio, you can get the same sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Same sort of practice, right? And you don't have to pay a premium. So like the thing that's maybe nice about doing this is that you're getting you're getting life insurance out of it, which is great, but it's super pricey life insurance. That's probably 8 to 10 times more expensive than term. But at the same time, I guess it really just depends on where you are. So like if you're super young, then it might make sense to just get term. But if you're very old, then you know it might make more sense to get a different like universal life insurance policy because they might not give you term or the term, yeah, they might just not give you term at all. So I guess it really just depends. But I think it depends on what you're using it for. Like if you're using it for life insurance, then I would stick to specifically life insurance. But if you're using it for like banking and stuff like that, I feel like you can get comparable. I don't know if you used to be able to do this as easily, but now I feel like rates from Robinhood are only 5%. And you know, if you want to borrow against yourself, you could easily do that and then set up a loan just like you would for an infinite banking concept with life insurance policy. But the problem that's even better is like you don't have to pay massive premiums when you have like a whole life insurance policy. You're paying like a couple $100 a month versus instead of like $15 to $20 a month for term life insurance. Now I know the numbers are off, but the magnitude is the same. Like you're paying potentially 5 to 10 times more just to be able to have this infinite banking concept when you can just do it with a normal stock portfolio. So I don't know. I used to think it was really cool, and then that was, I think, before I really understood that you could do the exact same thing with a share-based line of credit or other things in investing accounts and 401k withdrawals, etc. I think it's a risk to reward. Like Palantir, I used the company's products for the past 10 years, and I, have had good interactions with the people at the company. So I was very confident that when they went public, I would buy in, and so I kept that promise. And Rocket Lab, they had already been executing. So like, it's not like all these other companies, like these SMR companies that people are like, hey bro, like let me put it in. It's just like it's different. Like, yeah, some of those SMR companies may succeed, but by the time that Rocket Lab had went de-SPAC, they had already launched a rocket 17 times. So it was very simple. It's like $2 billion company, $1.5 billion company at some points, and they've launched a rocket 17 times. Like these guys are going places. Like the upside is much bigger than the downside. Yes, the downside is zero, of course, but the fact that they've launched 17 times and they were the third most launched rocket in the world at the time, and now the second most launched, it was kind of a no-brainer. And it wasn't without fear. Like I had to listen and understand what was happening. I thought it was a launch-only company, and then through time, as they used some of the SPAC money to buy other businesses, I started to understand truly what the long-term vision was for the company. I mean, that's part of it. Like if they have a working product, that's one thing. And I don't just know, I just don't know enough to speak poorly about it. I know some people that I'm close with that are very much into the quantum stocks. They're very big believers in it. I don't have enough education on it to really talk poorly about it. But I would just be cautious that if you're investing in certain things, there's always going to be people out there that try to convince you need to be you can't necessarily just take everybody for their word. You need to see reality, like VG, if they didn't show me construction pictures, then I'd be like, or if I didn't know and see the contracts going through, and the counterparties also doing news releases and the actual export volume on Twitter that they actually share, that is not guaranteed, but shown by independent government agencies. You can't just take a company's word for things, and I think unfortunately a lot of times people do. This happened to me with GE. GE was like, we're gonna have $2 earnings per share back in 2015 or 2016. Never fucking got close. Not even 50% of the way there. And the stock tanked. Now it's a different story. They've obviously taken over the leadership and chopped up the company. But yeah, it was like, listen to me, listen to me, listen to me. And it's like, if you're not executing, you're not executing. So well, not just an ETF, S&P Global as a student one doesn't have to a lot of time. And yeah, exactly. It really just depends. How much time somebody has to do research on a lot of these things. Matt, have you ever hedge in any way your portfolio? I do covered calls, but that's more for like additional income, and I do generally far out of the money. I do get burned from time to time by writing covered calls, but most of the time I get out of them unscathed. But hedging, I don't really do any portfolio drag or anything like that. So, thoughts on Planet Lab compared to Rocket Lab? Planet Lab doesn't have rockets. I don't dislike Planet Lab. I just think that their market is much smaller than potentially what Rocket Lab might do. And I think that there's a good space for Planet Lab to be, but I just don't think that Planet Lab will be a 300, potentially $200 billion plus company. So it doesn't need to be, if you're able to get in at the right time. But to me, I think that Rocket Lab is the space company, right? If you were to invest in two companies, I think it would be Rocket Lab and SpaceX, and SpaceX is much more expensive and further along down the road. So to me, Rocket Lab is just the one to go for. Personally, I still think that there's a lot of life left. Why wait 10 years? Would you wait 10 years to take tips off the table for the craps table? I mean, we're not talking about craps, we're talking about real living, breathing entities. Would you have taken cash off the table investing in Microsoft? Would you have done the same investing in Google 10 years ago? The answer is probably no. To me, the way that I look at it is I believe that Palantir is going to be around 10 years from now. I believe Rocket Lab is going to be around 10 years from now. I believe they're going to be much larger companies that if I need money, I can just borrow against it. Now, if the company changes their pivots and its mentality or ownership or something like that, then yeah, I could sell the company and move into a different direction. But I just am a firm believer that when's Google going to go to zero? When's Amazon going to go to zero? And to me, I personally don't see it. If I need the money, maybe you have an idea as to how well I'm doing, maybe you don't, but if I have several $1 million in some of these positions, then, borrowing 50 grand to pay for bills is not going to be a very big problem. So that's the way I look at it. I would much rather do that than sell and have to pay 20% plus to the tax man, because it just doesn't make sense. So why sell and pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes on things if I just need $50,000? I'll just borrow $50,000 and not sell. So I don't know. Cautiously optimistic. I mean, it's what works for me. I also don't like to switch in and out of positions very lightly. I have a very consolidated position history. Like I have less than 10 positions. So there's that. And then I also have a very large S&P 500 position. It's not to say that I invest only in individual stocks. I have a decent 401k. I have a decent individual position in individual brokerage of S&P 500 as well. So it's not nearly 50% like it used to be, because Palantir and Rocket Lab have grown so much, but it's still there. And my hope is that it gets to a couple $1 million, and I just have an S&P 500 that's a couple $1 million. That's growing at 7 to 10% regularly per annum. Yes, it goes down. Yes, it goes up. But once it's not too far from that, once it gets to that place, then you have my funds that are potentially going to take me to the 8-figure and beyond range, and you have an S&P 500 that kind of makes sure and guarantees that you're set up for the long term. And that's me, right? That's my position. That's my portfolio, and all I can do is aim for my portfolio. Everybody that's in here, I can't say that opportunity or way of thinking could work for everybody. VG buying, yes. Bought more on Monday. Deep diving into Weebull, below SPAC price, upside seems better. Yeah, I don't disagree. I think I actually think Weebull below $10 is a good one. I don't know. I don't really know what am I trying to say? Something in my head, but it skipped me. But yeah, I have some. I think I have like 35 contracts or something at a spread, like 7.5 to 15 spread or something like that. At like $2. So the hope would be is that it goes to like 9.50 or something like that, and I'll break even. Something around there. Yeah. So if it's at 9.50 or something, I think I break even. I think it's for 2028. I forget. I'll have to double check. I know that's technically not your CC, but you can show the CC portfolio. What? Oh. I'm kind of lazy. I mean, it's like it hasn't really changed much. VG's gone down. ASTS and Rocket Lab are doing well. ABCL is back down. I mean, it hasn't really changed much. So I think we bought more VG with like $100 or $150 that we got last month from YouTube income. So I just put that in, but I think we bought more VG. I mean, it hasn't really changed other than VG going down. Yeah, talking about the bros. Exit strategy for price for bros. To me, I mean, I think it's going to go north of $25 billion market cap when it gets to close to 4,000 stores in the early 2030s. So, not early 2030s, mid 2030s. So, I mean, for now, and it could morph, right? I mean, all I can say is this is the vision for now. But I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic they'll get to their 2,000 store goal by 2029. 2,029 stores by 2029. They're over 1,000 stores right now. So in that respect, I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic that by 2029, they'll be generating over $1 billion in ops cash, probably closer to $1.2 billion in ops cash. Net cash income would probably be close to half of that because of depreciation costs, etc. And so it being like an $8 or $9 billion company just doesn't make sense when you're making that much money and growing at the rate that they are. So then you think about doubling that, so they'll be potentially making, $1.5 to $2 billion a year in net income. What multiple would you put on that? To me, I would put at least a 15 to 20x multiple on that, and that would get you close to a $30 billion market cap. And so, to me, I see the longevity that this company could potentially have. And so I'm just cautiously optimistic that below $10 billion is cheap. And so, I mean, I wasn't running out and buying it at $80. But now that it was back in the 50s, now it's back in mid 60s. I'm not running out and buying it like crazy, but I think I need to see a little bit more proof that I believe it'll get to above a $25 billion, $30 billion market cap. But I'm cautiously optimistic. It's different. It's not a franchise model. The majority of it is company-owned stores, and so you're not getting like 3% of revenue. You're getting 100% of revenue from those stores, getting 30% margins, not 2 to 3%. So, you're expanding much slower than say a franchise model could, but at the same time, now you're cash flow break even. You're going to be able to buy back stock potentially. Like, I don't know what else they'll do. I mean, I know that they're going to increase the pace at which they open stores because now they're actually cash flow break even. And so, yeah. No, I'm not looking at any nuclear power stocks. If I could find one that actually can deliver and not be Fugazi, then it would be interesting. But yeah, I haven't really looked too much at it, and I've had people poke me about Nebius and CoreWeave and stuff like that, but I haven't really done as much. Yeah. Buy a flask and drink coffee out of that. Shove the money saved in a trading account 3 years, and it's worth 4K. You heard it here first. Jesus, chat's wild. Sorry, guys. I'm like half an hour or like 15 minutes behind. Data center plays no. I don't have targets for next year. Somebody asked me about Google and NVIDIA targets. I don't have targets for next year. That's not my game. I don't play that game. I'm not saying that people that play a game are dumb or anything like that. That's their game. I don't play that game. I don't play that. I plan to hold until at least the early 2030s, unless I see it's fully valued, which to me would be north of 65 to $80 billion, at a minimum, would be, unless something fundamentally actually changes and I recognize that my thesis is wrong. Um, but if my thesis is right, then I don't think I would sell for less than 65 to $80 billion. It just doesn't make sense. But I could see a world where the company is worth more than 100 billion as well. Um, I had heard about the company in the early 2021 timeframe, and then I heard about the SPAC through my buddy named Cole, who I still chat with. He told me they were going SPAC, and I did more research, and I didn't realize how successful they had been at 17 launches at that point. So I was like, this is a no-brainer to me. And so I put a couple $1,000s in, and then the more launches they had, I just kept buying because it just made more and more sense. So I wish everybody in ASTS the best. I think that they're going to struggle to get to the revenue at speed at which they want to, because they don't have control over the launch. But it's not to say they're not going to do well. I think they'll do well. From what I've seen, the technology works based off of the commercials and stuff that they've put out. So fingers crossed that they'll do well. I think the downside to Rocket Lab is that the neutron rocket just doesn't work. And in which case, then I think it's a $15 billion company easy for where it is right now. Just based off a moat. Is it going to be able to be printing money? No, but it's going to cost just a replacement value, $15 billion at a minimum to get where they're going. To be able to replicate anything to the matter of which they've been able to build it. So the fact that it's being valued now at close to 30 billion, I think maybe people view that as richly priced, but if Neutron works, I think at a bottom it would be worth $25 billion just based off of replacement value. Because it's not just, it's partly replacement value and it's part luck and part execution ability. You can have $100 billion, but it doesn't mean you're going to be able to put a rocket into space. So it's I don't think people are giving that piece of it credit. And I don't think being competition for SpaceX is it. They launched for Space Force and NASA, and they've collaborated with a bunch of different folks. Rocket Lab helped Firefly land on the moon. So I mean, they're doing other things that are different than what SpaceX is doing. So yeah. I like Celsius. I drink Celsius a good bit. I don't know what the price is. When it was cheaper earlier this year, I took a swing trade on it because I think it was trading at like 25, $30. When I went below $35, I started initially buying, but now they've kind of changed. They've acquired Alani, and I'm not sure what they did with the share count. So it's hard for me to say like for like, because I don't know what share count it is anymore. I don't know what the market cap is, but it's behind Monster and Red Bull, and I think it's growing pretty quickly still. So, and I think it's here to stay. I would buy like a small position in SpaceX if given the opportunity. Like Steve said something, he got a message the other day, and I was like, yeah, if like I could buy this $10,000 worth, just to have it, and say that I participated. That would mean more to me that I'm like helping push space exploration than actually owning a piece of the company. Because if it actually does come true at a trillion and a half, I mean, do I think it could be north of $1 trillion one day? Of course, but this is kind of tough, right? Like, I don't know how exactly you're going to monetize Mars and all that. So, without knowing more about the business model and what it could generate, it's tough to put money into. But if it was just putting $10,000 in just to say, hey, I own a piece of SpaceX, not for bragging rights, but to like feel that passion of space and everything like that, then yeah. But putting in a substantial amount of money, unless it was cheaper, like a couple hundred billion, like 300 or 400 billion, I don't think I would do it. "74 years old and about 2.5 million in stocks and very little else in anything else. I would like to start preserving some of that. Where would you recommend I invest for income?" Well, firstly, hard to answer without an idea as to what kind of income you need. But I mean, a small way that you could look at it. I mean, 74. Congrats on your age, by the way. That's absolutely phenomenal. But let's just say you only need, with your Social Security. Let's just say you're getting 2,500 a month in Social Security. That's $30,000 a year. Let's just say you need $72,000 a year. So you need to bridge the gap by about 42,000. What is that divided by 2.5 million? It's only 2%. So like, if you only need $40,000 to supplement that Social Security income, you'd be fine just putting this pretty much in the S&P 500 and taking whatever income you could get, and then maybe with a small portion of it, invest a decent amount of it into to 30-year treasuries. At 30 years, I think the 30-year right now is yielding at least 4.5%. 4.8%. So like, if you don't need any additional appreciation, I would start at the end. I think a lot of people are so concerned about just like coming up with some scenario. It's like, no, well, you have a scenario, you pay bills, right? And so even if you just said, okay, I don't know, at 2,250, sorry, 2.5 million at 4.8%, that's 120 grand a year. And let's just say you owe 20% of that in taxes, you're still walking away with $96,000 a year before you even hit Social Security. So, I mean, yeah, you're not going to have appreciation, but I guess I don't know if you have to give this over to children or what have you, but I would start with the end in mind. Like, what's your income requirements? Because that would dictate more about what you do with it. Now, say if you're spending 250 grand a year, I mean, that's tough, right? Because you need to come up with 10% a year, and I don't know, I can't help you there. But with something so small, shit, just keep it in the S&P 500 and withdraw 2% a year. If that's the case, and let's just say you only get 2,000 a month from Social Security. So Social Security times 12, that's 24 grand. I mean, even withdrawing from your 2.5 million at 2% a year, that's still going to be 4.1, just from pulling out 2% on an annualized basis. You're going to get about $4,200 a year. Sorry, $4,200 a month, plus your 2,000 from Social Security. That's $6 grand a month. Times that by 12, that's 74 grand a year. I mean, I would start at the end and think backwards. I think a lot of people assume they need to be generating as much as they do when they were in their working years. And I don't, like, you think about it, I make, let's just say $100,000 a year, but I'm saving 30%. I don't need to be making $100,000 a year in retirement. I need to be making $70,000 a year in retirement because I'm saving 30%. And so it's really just dependent upon what your expenses are. I think so many times people think about what their earning capacity is. But a good rule of thumb for people, that are out there is if they want to say like they're comfortable, like this gentleman, and I'm not exactly sure, what your expenses are, sir, but Like a good rule of thumb is if you have 30 times your expenses. So let's just say you have $50,000 a year in expenses, then multiply that by 30, you need $1.5 million. And if you have $1.5 million, then you'll easily be able to take out 3.5% a year. And generally speaking, the market goes up 7 to 8% a year before some sort of inflation. So if you're taking out, some years it'll go down by 20-30%, but you're only taking out that 3.5% a year, and then it'll appreciate and go back up the next year. And overall, generally speaking, it'll go up and to the right. And if you're really afraid, then maybe you just do covered calls as well, and you can generate some money with covered calls. I'm not saying like super wild ones like Emmett was talking about in the money covered calls and things like that. I don't necessarily think that that's necessary, but you can easily generate 0.5% or 1% of your principal super far out of the money conservative covered calls. So hopefully that helps, sir. But not financial advice, like I don't know what your income is and stuff like that. That was just kind of an example. I would start with the end. How much money do you need on a monthly basis? And then you could be as aggressive or not based off of that. But like I said, it's going to be very easy if you only really need to be spending $50,000 to $70,000 a year, and you have that Social Security net as well. See, this is what you need. There you go. I mean, it really depends, man. Like, invest 50 grand in VG and 50K in Next with the intent of holding for 10 years. Are you insane? I can't tell you whether or not you're insane. I don't know what your risk tolerances are. I don't know what the rest of your portfolio looks like. I don't know if $100,000 is a lot to you. So, it's tough to just be like, yeah, like I could tell you $1 million, and you could be like, it's a lot of money. And I'd be like, it is a lot of money. But some people, $1 million isn't anything. So it's all about magnitude and perspectives, right? I mean, $100,000 to you might be the world. It might be, I don't want to say a rounding error, but it could be a bad day in the market for me, So not trying to be a dick. It's just the reality of things. Yeah. I mean, this person said it. I mean, they're both concentrated in the same thing as well, right? Are you ready for that risk tolerance? Yeah, this is good as well. I'm assuming you're talking about SpaceX. Yeah. How has owning property been for you? Do you rent? How are the tenants? Airbnb is doing pretty well. The one property does better than the other. I think this is my sister puts a lot of joy into Airbnb, and so that property I think is doing better. My one buddy, we bought it off of somebody that was already kind of a cash flowing Airbnb. We need to refinance all the properties, including the house I'm sitting in right now. I just, I've gotten into real estate over the past 3 years, and so the interest rate was never super favorable at that time. This is the thing, like you don't need to be taking super high risk in QQQIs of the world and all that. Like if you have sufficient money, like I think you only need to cheat in the things like QQQI and get those rates up if you're under total principal amounts. Like if you have 150,000 and you need to generate 15 grand, versus if you have 1.5 million and you need 50 grand, you don't need to invest in QQQI that's yielding 10% because you don't need 150 grand. You only need 50 grand. So I always try to look at the end. And I think so many people are trying to this is the problem. I think so many people, and this hits home. And apologies. I do enjoy talking about this because I feel like this is a useful statement. I feel like I don't get this out enough. especially 197 people in here. I never normally get 179 people. So thanks to Steve and the rest of the community. But like so many people are trying to build these portfolios and they're trying to build them like a house without a plan. And so like you're just putting bricks on top of each other. You have no idea if this is where a window is going to be. You have no idea if this is going to be a doorway. You have no idea if that's going to be a hallway. And so the problem is people don't start with an end in mind or a plan. And so, and I'm not to say that that plan is gold and set a standard. You can decide to deviate and renovate that part of the house, you know, but as long as you understand what you want your financial house to look like, you at least have an idea as to where you're going and you can have kind of like a train of thought. But I feel like so many people are putting bricks on top of each other and using screwdrivers to hammer in nails. And it's like, dude, you're using the wrong tool and you're not planning. And so I think that so many people are flying blind, and sometimes people might get lucky, but I think that is part of the big point of why people don't and aren't successful in the market, is because they're trying to build a house financially, like a financial house, without a blueprint. And you'll get much further if you have a blueprint. Yeah, I mean, it really also depends exactly with that. Like, he's already 74, in 30 years time, he'll be 104. I mean, I don't know how good a health he is, but it really just depends. There's a really good book I would recommend with that gentleman called Dying with Zero, and Tevis read it, and it was one of the books that my grandfather left. If he has that much money, 2.5 million, and he has kids that are in their 50s or whatever, like if he only needs say 50 grand a year, he could potentially give some of that money away to his children, because that they could use that money today and it could help them retire. You could spend more time together, instead of have them work the next 5 to 10 years, you could give a portion of that money to your children if you have any, sir. And so I would start with the end in mind, and you might be in a very comfortable position where, I mean, shit, you already made it to 74 with $2.5 million. Congratulations. What a feat. Like, you should be very proud of yourself, sir. Oh, I loved REITs. I still love REITs. REITs are great. The thing with REITs is, to me, they're debt vehicles to an extent. You have to find the right ones. I love Stag Industrial for a while. I invested in SL Green when Steve told me about it, and Chris kind of let me know about it. And that's kind of how I got introduced to Steve, was through SL Green. And then, I think REITs are great. I think it just depends on where you are in what you want to invest in, and different REITs too, right? And REITs are evaluated differently than stocks. They're looked at on a price to funds from operation basis versus a price to earnings / EBITDA basis. So, how do you calculate how much to put into each position? Do you worry about being heavy in certain stocks or sectors? I used to want to be a lot more diversified. And then I realized, like, for me, the way I like to look at it is I now, if I have a lot of conviction in something, I want to, once again, look at the end goal. And say, for example, for Palantir, I wanted to put in enough that if I lost it, I would be sad, but I wouldn't be devastated or like suicidal or something, God forbid. And same thing with Rocket Lab. Like, when I got to Rocket Lab, I said, oh shit, I wish I invested more in Palantir. I have a little bit more money now. I can be a little bit more aggressive. And so I said, double it pretty much. Not because I wanted to double it, but because it just made sense that would be the amount that I would be comfortable with losing potentially if it goes to zero, which I never thought it would go to zero, but at least hit, 50% group or something like that. So there's that. And then same thing with like Google and Amazon. I started with the end, and I said, I think that these companies will get to here. And if I want the companies and I think they're going to get to here, let's say I wanted $1 million in something. Like, a prime example, Amazon. I'll be happy to disclose this. Amazon, prime example. I think that I want $1 million in Amazon. And so just the way it works out, Amazon is about 10.5 billion shares. So Amazon at $10 trillion, at 10.5 billion shares is about $1,000 a share. And so my thought process is then if you have 1,000 shares times 1,000 stock price, it'll be $1 million position. So my goal right now is to get my Amazon position to about 1,000 shares, because I think eventually Amazon would be worth $10 trillion and it'll be worth $1 million. So I started with the end. I said, it's going to be a $10 trillion company. It's $10.5 billion, 10.5 billion shares. It'll be $1,000 a share approximately. Let me get to 1,000 shares. And then I did the same thing with Rocket Lab. I said I wanted to be, if it ever got to this sort of share price, I wanted it to be this large in my portfolio. And same thing with Google and a couple other companies. Like if I want this to be a $400,000 position, I need, and I think it's going to get to this market cap with this many shares. Then I need this many shares to get to there. And so I start with the end in mind. I think, okay, if I am correct in this and I invest this much, it will grow to be X. And I did that somewhat with Rocket Lab. I said, okay, if I get this many shares and it grows to $50 billion market cap, it'll be worth X and I will be where I want to be. And that's kind of what has come to fruition, right? I was like, okay, I want to get to X amount of shares. I got close to it. I'm not 100% to where I want to be. I think I'm like 80% of the way there. And if I was at 100% of the way there and it got to X count, then it'd be great. But the problem is like things change as things change, right? So like initially when I was investing in Google, I just wanted to get, I forget what it was, 300 shares or something like that. I wanted it to be $150,000 or something like that. Now that I've grown in my position sizing, I'm a couple years down the road, it changes. And that's, you're allowed to change it. Like it doesn't mean that you can't, but at least I have a plan. And then I can at least focus. And the problem that I've had in the past is when I didn't have a plan, I was unfocused. And so I would move in and out of positions too quickly. I would have too many shares of different companies. I'd have 40 different positions and I was trying to keep up with all the conference calls and, I needed everything and I, was FOMOing in, and the older I got, I was like, I can't keep track of everything. I can find out what I can find out. If I miss something, I miss something. But, really, unless I truly want to invest in something and make it a sizable position, which is why I got rid of Nubank and SoFi, great companies. If I wanted to keep more companies in the portfolio, they would probably be in it. But I was just like, do I want to grow SoFi to like a $400,000-$500,000 position? I would rather invest in Amazon or Google or put more into Rocket Lab or Next or VG. And that's the thing. So it's not to say I'm bearish on those companies. It's just yeah. That's very shrewd. Isn't shrewd a very negative term? Shrewd. Oh, judgment and astute. Okay. I don't know why shrewd. I thought it was like a negative thing. I think I just realized that, most I'm not very good at English. Sorry. That's why I had to research the definition really quick. I'm better with numbers. You just hear normal rules of thumb, right? And that's what you're investing for, is to get to some end goal, right? You're not investing. To me, I was never investing for today or tomorrow. For me, I was always, and maybe this is just how my mind works. Maybe yours is different. But I was always investing for the long term and kind of keeping the end in mind. And my thought process is that I needed to get to $2.5 million. $2.5 million at 4% gets you to, I forget, whatever it is, 100 grand a year or something like that, in sort of like ability to kind of live off of. And there was always the 4% rule, and I think it's just a culmination of all the different rules of thumbs out there, and starting to recognize that you can kind of go to the end and build your way back. And that's probably what you always want to do. Like, I feel like this is a scientific method, right? Like, what's your thesis? Where do you want to kind of get to? What's your thought? What's your hypothesis? And then you kind of go that way. And whether or not it works or not, then you can adjust. But at least you have an hypothesis and you kind of go. And otherwise, you're kind of just running around with your head chopped off without any sort of like paddle, right? You're just kind of up shit's creek. So. Biggest loss I think is Wish. I'm open about that. I think that was like 2020, 2021. And I still think that they sabotaged the company. I think that he thought Peter, who they were investing they were reinvesting too much money of the revenue that they were getting back into marketing, and the product was shit. And so while they were executing, growing, etc., they were kind of just like recycling cash. And then they handed the company over, and instead of just like slowing back and getting control over the amount that they're spending and fixing the quality control problem, they just cut all advertising in general. And so you stopped getting all sales pretty much, and it just became a downward spiral for the company. And it's actually one of the reasons why I unfortunately did not invest in HIMS, was looking at how much money they were throwing into marketing. And I was like, I've seen this before. But the problem with, and the difference between HIMS and Wish, was people actually loved the HIMS product, and the retention rate for HIMS was really good. So retention rate for HIMS was not good. And so it's very different. Like, you're spending good money after bad. Like, you're trying to get people to come back. They do come back, but they're still unsatisfied with the product. So there's no staying power. So anyway, that was, I think, my biggest loss. It was like $40,000-$50,000. Actually, that's a lie. I actually didn't knowingly lie to you there. But in terms of actual stock, that yes, that is the biggest loss. But I also wrote naked calls on GameStop back in 2021, and I don't know. I still have yet to quantify exactly how much I lost, but it was definitely north of $50,000. I wouldn't be surprised if it was north of $100,000. But I had basically stated, like, and maybe this sounds right. Maybe you think I'm an idiot. That's fine, but this is the truth. Is when it was going up above like $150 a share, I was like, you mean to tell me you're going to pay me like $6,000 or something like that to write these naked calls, and it's going to go above $150 a share? I was like, give me my $6,000, please. And so yeah, then that day it closed at like $100 a share, $120 a share, and it climbed up the next day, like overnight, immediately jumped up like 150, 160, 170. It opened up the next day at like 200. And I was like, holy fuck. And I closed it out. And I had like 6 contracts or something like that. And so yeah, I think I was underwater like $50 a share each, or something around those lines. It was miserable. I've never lost sleep before. There's only 2 times I've lost sleep from investing. For some reason, earlier this year, I lost sleep over Bitcoin, which in retrospect now, like, I have so little Bitcoin to think about why I lost sleep over that night. Still somewhat confusing to me in retrospect, because in terms of the portfolio size, not a lot. Maybe it was last year, but don't know why I ever would have lost sleep over Bitcoin. It's not like I'm levered or anything like that. But yeah, the GameStop was probably the only time I've ever lost sleep over investing. Hair looks wicked. I appreciate that. Didn't do anything to it. Didn't brush it or anything like that. I just save a lot of money, man. Like, I save a lot, and then as I see companies or like I'll invest in something, I'll have a tertiary position. I'm like, I don't want this, but I do want this. And so like I'll sell out a new bank and I'll be like, here's, a portion of money, I'll say. And the same thing with SoFi. Like I did well with SoFi. I'd sold PepsiCo. I went on a trip with Tevis in September or like February 2022. Not 2024, February 24. They convinced me to buy SoFi at like $6 or $7. And then yeah, so in that respect, it was I made some good money on that. I sold a portion of it, maybe like half of it, and was like, I like SoFi, but I think I can consolidate it into something I care more about. So it took a long time to get there. I mean, I started investing in like 2012, 2013. So, and I also do really well. Like I save a lot of money. So, what do you think about Chewy? I don't think about it. I don't know anything about it. Sorry, I really don't. I'm not trying to be mean. There you go. Yeah, I had more Pokemon behind me, but Steve made fun of me, so I put him in a closet. Yeah, less than 10 stocks in the portfolio. Good question. What do you guys think? One's in the chat. One, if I should double or nothing with Tevis. 0, if I should just if we should just take the $500 bet that we had for people that need context. Back when SoFi was like 13 or $15 or something like that. We made a bet that, and I took the under, that SoFi would be under $25 by year end 2025. Tevis took the over, thinking it would be over, and he thought, like, when he initially, he was like mid live stream, so I do feel for him, but mid live stream he thought that he meant like just hit 25 at all. And I clarified with him, I'm like, nope, not 25 at all, like it has to close year end above 25. So it's $26. So he's winning right now. Somebody put a 2. That wasn't an option. So gamble it. I mean, the thing is that we both kind of agreed that like we would spend it on a trip together. So like, it sounds worse than it is, but like if we were to go to Mexico or something again, we'd go get like a bottle of wine or whiskey or something like that with dinner, or multiple bottles of wine or something like that at dinner. So I think it'll finish 28. I mean, it looks like I owe him $500, so I gotta. Maybe I should double or nothing. He wants a double or nothing at 45. I really think it's gonna go. What's that now? 33. So 33.14 divided by 26 point whatever it is, 4. That's 1.25 billion per dollar. So then if it's at 45, that's a $56 billion market cap. I have five whole shares of Rocket Lab. 5. Yep. Cost me what? $20? Now I got, what's 5? 5 times whatever, $60. So $300. $300 worth of Rocket Lab. I don't want to live in Oklahoma. No offense. I had to work really hard to get to that 5. Really hard. I should. And I've thought about that as well. Like, because I've thought about making a 5 whole shares. I know. I appreciate that. It took me a long time. I thought about this as well because if actually Tevis and I do record part of it, like he actually put me on his board of advisors, and I actually do talk to him a good bit for his business. But maybe I shouldn't talk about this out loud. But we do actually talk a lot of business when we're on vacation, so it makes sense. Rooting against me for what? Oh, for SoFi? That's fine, man. I get it. I want the company to do well too. I have a lot of friends in SoFi. And I've actually thought about like if I did quote unquote retire or start to more so work independently for myself, maybe stream and stuff. Appreciate the 180 of you guys being here, by the way. I don't normally get this kind of attention. But yeah, if I did, I actually created a second channel called, obviously I have Matt Money, but I have Matt Travels, and I would probably just do like small hotel reviews or something like that, or just overall, just so that I don't want to say just to write it off, but I think people would be interested. Like, hey, I know Matt, he invests well. Like, what's he doing? What kind of resorts is he going to? What does he think? Because you guys hear me, I go to Cancun with Tevis, or I want, go to, did we go to the Dominican? No, we just went to Cancun. So yeah. If you take a look at Morgan Stanley or Goldman Sachs for next year, I think they'll have a bid since 2026 will be IPO season. Goldman Sachs will be beneficiary for SpaceX. Interesting. I write off for YouTube, but I don't make a lot of money off YouTube, to be honest. So it probably would make sense for me to create a separate LLC. But yeah, I do write things off for the YouTube channel. So I generally don't. I generally have more than enough expenses. Like I for all the things that I've done for YouTube, like I went to Miami, I went to so I every couple of years, or at least in 2023 I went to Vegas, so that kind of offset all the income from that, and then I have my phone bill and internet bill, etc. And then for 2025 this year I went to Miami, and I went to Virginia for Rocket Lab. So definitely not making money this year on the YouTube channel. The YouTube channels help supplementing going to Miami and going to Virginia, but obviously I spent way more going to those places and paying for them than and I felt happy. Like I kind of spent more than I should have, and I not spent more than I should have. That's probably the wrong term, but I was happy to spend money on those things because get to meet great people. Like I got to meet Dave G and Vince in person, and Scotto in person, and then in Miami I got to meet so many of you guys as well. So yeah, it's worth spending the money. That's more so what YouTube has done for me, is to be able to meet cool people, find good investments, stuff like that. Actually, somebody asked earlier, how did we all meet? Most of us, I'd say, met through a MIT. I started doing Palantir weekly, so I'm a user of Palantir, and he asked me to come on the channel, and I agreed, and so that's kind of how I met Amit. And then through Amit, I met Chris, and then from Chris, I met Steve because Chris kept talking my ear off about SLG. And then I was like, how'd you get this idea? I think Steve talks about SLG too. And I'd known about Steve, but I didn't know Steve yet. We hadn't had like a personal conversation. And then through that, I'm trying to remember how I met Tevis, but there was that. I actually hated Tanner initially because he was so against Google. But now Tanner's such a good guy. Him and I've had a couple conversations. I want to meet the guy, but he's come around. I just his thought on Google to me at the time was so asinine. I was so frustrated. And normally I can be like, okay, somebody doesn't like a stock that I like, but it seemed to me so asinine that I was just like, how can somebody that I perceive to be so smart and I think is so right on so many things, that like he's wrong on Google. And it flustered me so much. I was trolling him very bad, and I feel bad in retrospect. But yeah, like it boggled my mind. And I met Arnie through Amit, Amir through Amit. I guess I met Tevis because he was coming to Vegas in 2023, and that's I know if, I'm trying to remember if I knew of Tevis before we went to Vegas, but when we went to Vegas, like we just hit it off, like it's like we would known each other forever, and just a good dude, and we were kind of going through something similar at the time, like just growing up, and as you get older as a guy, you kind of just like have to figure it out, right? The cavalry's not coming when you're a dude. You kind of just need to like, all right, like I'm the one that's I'm the one that's in charge of my life. Like I got to figure it the fuck out, right? So, maybe I'm saying too much, but Tevis and I were kind of at the same time, and we're just exchanging. I don't want to say war stories to make it sound worse than it is, but we're just exchanging stories about where we were in life and some of the things we were growing pain into, and we just had good advice for each other. We kind of just kept in touch. And then he was like, "Dude, let's get the fuck out of here. Let's go to Cancun." Like a couple months later, and so we did. I guess that was October, and then October 2023, and then February 2024. We were both kind of like, "This sounds kind of crazy, but we both need a trip," and and so we both went to Cancun, and we had the best time. We chose a great resort, and it was just me and Tevis, and he was teaching me some Spanish. We were getting tacos and just eating and just talking stocks. And it was just a great trip. And we've done it now. Like one time, just me. No, we went on a group trip. Some of Tevis's buddies from Canada. That was a lot of fun too. Good resort. I stepped on a stick on the beach, and that really fucked up my foot. But other than that, that was awesome. And then the last time we went was in July, and that was with Hot Chris. And that was a good time. I'm trying to think, did we do another one earlier this year? Is this the last time we went? When we went with all of Tevis's buddies, it was like August or September of 24. And then did we only do it the once this year? I guess so. I did meet Jeremy. I met Jeremy in October 2023 when we went to Vegas. Really nice guy, very hospitable. We played some poker at his house. He hustled us out of all of our money. It wasn't a lot. It was like, I don't know, $150 buy-in. Carlos was there. Tevis was there. Kelly was there. I'm gonna mess. I think Chris was there. Yeah, Chris was there. Who else was there? I think there's another YouTuber. Amit was there, obviously. So, yeah. Yeah, Jeremy was a super nice guy. Awesome. Awesome guy. I have a lot of respect for Jeremy. I think he gets a lot of slack, but from people online, but he's always been super nice to me. I've messaged him once or twice, like super small, quick messages back and forth on. It might have been, somebody that works for him as well. Like I don't necessarily know, but and then I met him in person. He's a really great guy. Are all YouTube friends single other than Chris? I'm not 100% certain of Amit's status. Not 100% certain of Tevis's status. I'm fairly certain he's single, but I don't want to disrespect if he is in a relationship. Steve's married. Tanner's pretty much married. Roy's married. Who else is there? Arnie, I guess, is the last I checked in with him a couple months back when we saw each other in September. That was cool too. Meeting Arnie was cool. Really good guy. He was giving me some really good advice about, when's enough, and take care of yourself, and which I'm doing better. I wish I was, it's a journey, right? I mean, I'm doing okay, but it's a journey. Yeah, Jeremy is super genuine. And his wife is so sweet, and his kids are so sweet. I didn't meet his kids, but I think his kids are a lot like his wife, and him, like if they're a combination of both of them. His wife was super sweet, and yeah, he was very welcoming, and which is kind of funny because I bought him like a nice big bottle of Blanton's and like a gift card, and I'm sure he used the gift card. I think it was the Cheesecake Factory, but the Blanton's, he was like, "Oh, this is great. I don't drink, but," and I was like, "Great." He's like, "I just, bought this couple $100 bottle of Blanton's, and but at least hopefully he gets it for people that do come over." And but what else? Yeah, I'm trying to think of other people that I interact with, but yeah, I'm really the only. Uh, yeah, I'm single like a Pringle. No offense, my man, but focus on getting your feet back under you first. That's probably the biggest thing. Um, is really just getting your feet back underneath you, and wishing you the best. Um, and yeah, I don't know much about ServiceNow, Nike. Hood's a great company. I just don't know enough of if it's overvalued here or not. I have one Leap. I bought it when Amit told me he was buying Rocket Lab. He told me um, he was buying Rocket Lab. I was like, well, you're buying Rocket Lab, I'm buying Robinhood, and I think it was wise investment. But um, the best thing is to be able to make sure that you have income coming in. I wouldn't necessarily be hyper focused on investing without an income stream. In the past, I'll be transparent. I used to have CEOs of like silver companies and stuff come on. And the problem with that was like I was actually genuinely interested in learning about some of these companies. But then I found out that when I was having some of these people, I was just trying to learn about business and talk with CEOs and stuff like that. And they were paying me to bring them on. And I found out people were buying the companies. Like I never said I was buying the companies, but because I had them on the channel, people were buying the companies. And when I kind of found that out, I was like, well, I don't really want people buying a silver company just because I had a CEO on the channel, right? Like if I had, um, what's a garbage company, Skechers or something. I don't know. I don't know how Skechers stock is doing, but let's have the Skechers CEO come on. Just because the Skechers CEO comes onto my channel means you're going to invest. Like it just doesn't make sense. So once I found out, a lot of people were like, "Hey, that CEO that you had on the channel," I ended up buying their stock or whatever, and I was like, "That's a dog shit stock. Like don't buy that." And they're like, "Well, too late. I already put $500 into it." I'm like, "Fuck!" Like there's a reason why they were paying me to come on the channel, and this is back in 2021. And once I found that out, I stopped. I was just like, it's I have to look at myself in the mirror. So I was like, yes, I was making really good money doing that and having them on the channel. But I was like, at the same time, it's like I would rather not make that money and be able to look myself in the mirror and know that I'm not, unfortunately, through happenstance, getting people to buy some of these stocks. And just like because it's and I somebody people were like, Matt, you're shilling all these things, and I'm like, I'm not saying to buy them. Like I never said to anybody to buy any of these things. And I was doing the same thing that CNBC does. CNBC will have a CEO of this channel or this company come on, and that company doesn't mean you should go out and buy every company of every CEO that's on CNBC. But because you see me, you feel obligated to, you know what I mean? Like it just didn't make sense to me that people don't make that connection. And like I literally was just asking the guy about the company and, hey, how much should I buy your company for? What stock price should I buy it at? And I didn't say any of that stuff. It was basically just, what about your company? What's going on? What are the catalysts? What's going on? But yet people, unfortunately, are buying some of these crap companies. And so once I found out that people were doing that, yeah, it's, to me, it just wasn't worth it. Let's see. I would say Jeremy is a really good investor, but I mean, he makes good money from YouTube as well. So, but thing is, like, he's investing his money, you know. So, and I think, to be honest, how much money he has, he's living an okay lifestyle. Like, he's not super extravagant. I mean, if I were him, like, I probably would have bought that Ferrari a long time ago, you know. But he does have a good business, and I think he does a good job. Like, I think he warrants it. Like, do I necessarily agree with, you know, I've tried starting up similar kind of things in the past with, you know, Patreon and things like that, and I can never get behind it. It takes a lot of effort to get those sorts of things off the ground, but yeah, with him, I think it's a combination of both. Like, I think he's done extremely well in Tesla and a few other great companies. Invested in Meta is another one he's, I think, made close to $1 million in net gains from. So, um, yeah. I was in Miami in August for the Miami meetup with Amit and the rest of the mods. It was fun, lively, lots going on. I was, at least specifically, I didn't really see much about Miami Beach, but I was in Brickell area. I've never met Graham. Somebody met Graham. Might have been Tanner or Tevis or something. Yeah, TJ's married. I met his wife a couple times. Met her in Vegas in 2023, and then I met her. We had dinner with some members of the channel and mods of the channel a few days ago, or not a few days ago, a couple weeks back, and Doug and Michelle and Ray and another person. I don't know if she doesn't, she doesn't necessarily like to be super public, but member of the channel. Petroleum engineering is what I technically studied. I actually think BM&R is going to be a great company. I just think it's the wrong time. I haven't heard of this company. So CEOs will pay you to get on streams. Not good at all. Canoe, EV, taught me similar expensive. I did some great marketing and we're scam. Yep. Yep. I've never met him in person. I'll say that. Never met him in person. Yeah, Amit's interviewed a bunch of CEOs. He's had Carp on his channel. He's had a lot of CEOs. I thought we reached the bottom like 15% ago, like in the mid sevens. So, but I think we are now, I think, in the midst of winter, and I am a strong believer that Dutch TTF and JKM is probably at its worst right now, and will likely, once we get into the midst of January, February, I'm cautiously optimistic that Dutch prices will go into the opposite direction. And when that does happen, I feel like you'll see some reversal. And I think we're also seeing a lot of tax loss harvesting. I've actually had a couple people reach out to me about tax loss harvesting, VG and them, and you know, to each their own, you know. But yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic that now that Europe is starting to run out, so like, I follow this way too in depth, but Europe has kind of storage amounts, and they're now using more, which is typical, right? This isn't abnormal, so I'm not saying anything that's like, oh my god, I can't believe this. They generally load up and store over time for the winter time, and then when winter comes, they use up that storage, and so it's decreasing very quickly. And so I'm kind of cautiously optimistic that when we get to January, February, they might be like, oh shit, we need to start preparing for next year. And they might actually start buying more. And when you're buying more, obviously on the spot, you demand more. And when you demand more, that obviously you're going to increase the price. So. I need to do more research on Ondas. Yeah. It took a while to start to get pretty chilly in Europe, but I think now that it's in the midst of December, it's starting to get chillier in Europe, um, and so with that, I think you're starting to see a lot more usage of gas. So fingers crossed that with that usage, it'll start to accelerate. Let's see, I got some requests. Interesting. I have looked at Symbotic, and I'm actually very curious about Symbotic. Yeah. I think the CEO's Mike Sable is a killer, and I stand behind him. I think he's doing really good work, and I think that's all I'll say. I think he's doing good work. I trust in him. A lot of people at the office that I know that I don't know a lot of people that work at VG, but I know a few, and they really trust him. I think inflation isn't as horrible as it was, right? So inflation's still inflation, but I think you have some things that are out of control. You have some things that are offsetting that. So I think overall, inflation not horrible, but I think where it's dragging down on that is I think energy prices are cheaper and housing prices have come down, but other things are up, and so overall, it's still 2.8%, I believe. But yeah. Differential equations, I'd say. There's so many different ways to do it. Initially, calculus was pretty tough, and then I finally kind of like calculus is interesting. It's not like arithmetic, right? It's a completely different way of thinking. And once I got it. But differential equations was tough. Yeah, I think this is kind of tough, right? Like I think back during when you went from the midst of the pandemic to 2021, 2022, everything was increasing. Like gas prices were increasing, oil prices were increasing from the lows. You had housing going up like crazy, and now kind of you're seeing the opposite. So. I'm cautiously, just like MicroStrategy, I'm cautiously optimistic that crypto, regardless of what people think, like it's very cyclical. And to me, I've always been under the impression that like when everyone was jumping in a couple months ago, not bad talking them or anything like that, I just thought easy money and cryptocurrency had been made, and I thought that it was more prudent to stand on the sidelines. It's not to say I'm not buying crypto; I'm buying Bitcoin and Ethereum, but going back into buying at much faster paces and in larger tranches, I just don't think right now is the time, because I think the easy money's kind of been made, and I still think that there's going to be a peak. Like I think right now, it's obviously seeing some weakness in the market, but I think we're going to see a peak within the next 2 to 3 months before we go into a true what I would consider crypto winter. And so I think the middle or the second half of next year will probably be definitely in the midst of some sort of crypto winter. But who knows? We might be entering crypto winter as we speak right now. But to me, I still feel like there's going to be another peak. Whether or not we get all-time highs again, I don't know. But I still think there's going to be a peak, and then we'll go into some sort of crypto winter. And so, to me, I'm personally waiting to add in size, not just BM&R, but a lot of other things like add more Bitcoin, add more Ethereum. There's a few other private companies I wouldn't mind buying into. And I don't know if it's better if they're private before I buy into them, or some of them have noted that they might go IPO in the first quarter of 26. And if that's the case, then I'll just wait for the market to flush out. But also, I'm looking at buying into like Coinbase and Robinhood and a lot of these other things that are very volatile with cryptocurrencies when the price is cheap. So yeah, that's just kind of my MO. I didn't have to take organic chemistry. Believe it or not. I've been once or twice. Yeah. You got to have a little bit of capital to buy some private companies. But all right, guys, I appreciate you all really, really hanging in there. Hit one in the chat if you didn't see an entire ad throughout the entire stream, midstream, of course. Of course, when you join the channel, you're going to see an ad, but throughout the entire, 2 hours, 21 minutes, if you didn't hear, hit one in the chat if you did not see a single ad after you joined. Just want to make sure that that's always working for you guys. All right, good. Good. So cool. I appreciate it. I am, for some reason, very starving tonight. I did eat, earlier, but I definitely think, I don't know. I need another small bite before I go to bed. I don't know what it is today. Very hungry, but I appreciate you all, and I promise I'm not going to promise I'm going to do more streams, but I do like streaming, and I appreciate you guys showing up, and it really means a lot that you guys continue to show up, and hopefully you guys learn something. And like I said, everything's my own opinion, and necessarily guidance for you guys. I hope that you guys will always look at things in how it pertains to your own portfolio. And what I'm doing is working for me. I'm 34. I'm single as well. Like, you might have a family. It really just depends on what your situation is. You could have, significant others or dependents, and you might be further along than me in your investment journey. You might be earlier in your investment journey. So what's working for me might not necessarily work for you. I have different risk tolerances and stuff like that. But no, I would love to find somebody, but I'd rather, how do I say this? Like, the last few people I've met up with and dated, I just would rather be single than date some of them and marry some of them. So, but I love women. Women are beautiful. Love talking to women. I just don't have that luck, man. I had a lot more luck in high school and college, but outside of college, I just, for the past 12, 13 years, I just haven't had as much luck. I don't know if it's because I'm so focused on work, or, but I also don't really like to play games, and I feel like I'm not here to bend backwards to do something. I'm just about my business, and I don't know. Whatever women like, I don't have it, so that's fine. I would love to have kids. I'd love to have a family one day, but just right now, it doesn't seem like it's in the cards. So, but yeah, you guys rock, and I appreciate you staying here. And sorry, I like to be transparent, but yeah, didn't mean to depress anybody at the end there. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, thoughts, always available on X. But recognize you ask a stupid question, you get a stupid answer or a smart answer back. So if you do have questions, like, went Lambo, you're joking around, cool stuff like that. I'm more than happy to joke back. But if you're just gonna be like, what price target for tomorrow? It's like, dude, I don't know what the price target is for tomorrow. Like I don't have one. You're gonna get a smart answer back. Like all my companies I don't invest in for tomorrow. Unless I'm explicit, like Celsius early this year, that was a short-term swing trade, small things like that. But overall, you asked a silly question, don't give any context. I can't answer it, like if you give me, like that gentleman earlier, he was like, I'm 72, I got this, I want to make sure. It's like that helps pan it out. But somebody's just like, I have $5, what do I do? What best stock? It's like, dude, I can't answer that. Like, so you're probably gonna get a shit answer back. So you guys are awesome, much appreciated. Get something to eat real quick and head to bed. Got my last day of work tomorrow, and then I'm off. So yeah, you guys rock. Talk to you guys soon. Cheers.